With every choice you make, you're saying no to a million other things. That has been Say's philosophy, who is a cynic of love. Can Mackie prove that if she chooses him, he can be worth more than the million things CS says no to? Mackie and CS meet at a resort. CS is a little bit drunk, but she's still aware of her surroundings while ranting. She's disappointed about getting soup without any meat in it. Mackie says soup is good, because it's nutritious. He also adds that she shouldn't be looking for meat, when all that's offered is soup. CS insists she deserves to have both. But what if only one is available? Which one will she choose? CS answers that she'll not settle, because again, she deserves to have both. Plus, there must be other choices to choose from. Her philosophy in life is that in every choice she makes, she's saying no to a million other things. So why would she settle for less? Mackie asks her, what if the one thing she chooses proves to be worth more than the million things she says no to? CS gives her a knowing look. Both of them understand the innuendos in their conversation, which leads them to have a one-night stand. The next day, Mackie wakes up to find that CS has gone, and his friends are already making fun of him. Ipe and Kelvin both tease him about winning the hot lady wearing the black bikini. However, Mackie is disappointed because he wasn't able to get her number. Nonetheless, he considers last night as one of the best nights in his life, and he won't forget it, or CES, soon. Even at home, his family is getting notions that Dr. Mackie Galvez has a girlfriend, which he denies. Mackie is a dentist by profession, and is the eldest among the 4 siblings. They all grew up in a loving family, so making fun of each other and openly showing affection are all normal to them. His clinic for his dentistry practice is at his family home, but he resides with his friends in a condominium. From their interactions, it can be said that Mackie has just gotten out of a long-term relationship and has expressed the desire to start a new phase in his life. In addition, he's getting teased for not being accustomed to singlehood and that he loves too much. It looks like this will be proven again as he embarks on his new job as a journalist. Together with Ipe, Mackie has applied to one of the country's biggest newspaper publishers. They are given a tour by Alex, the head of the lifestyle section. Since Mackie doesn't have any experience in journalism, Alex thinks it's better if someone could be his mentor. Just in time, their editor-in-chief calls their attention. She informs them that a celebrity has just arrived at the airport, and she's a hot topic among the socialites. Someone should go there and interview the celebrity. One writer volunteers to do it. To Mackie's surprise and delight, it is CS who volunteers. More to his happiness, Alex asks the EIC if CS can be assigned to train him, which is immediately approved. CS, upon seeing Mackie, is stunned for a moment, but she quickly puts on her poker face and tells him to come with her. At the airport, CS soon puts him to a test. She tells Mackie to go ahead and interview the celebrity, who is now flocked by overly enthusiastic journalists wanting to get a scoop. Mackie is surprised by this, but CS reasons that he won't learn anything if he doesn't experience anything. So he does his best to shout his questions at the celebrity. But he might as well sing and dance, and no one will notice, since everyone's attention is on the celebrity, who won't offer any information. Seeing how he looks, CS takes matters into her own hands. She pushes other journalists, and once she gets to the front she shouts a baiting question that stops the celebrity in her tracks. She calls CS and schedules an interview with her. Other journalists grumble, saying CS has taken another scoop again. This shows her assertiveness and expertise when it comes to her work, and Mackie is marveling about it. When everyone has gone, he apologizes to her for not being bold enough. CS accepts this, saying there's no next time for blunders. And with that, she leaves. That night, Mackie meets up with his friends. He tells them how he wanted to invite her for a meal, but he suddenly got nervous. Ipe and Kelvin smirk at him. They already had a one-night stand, why get nervous now? Kelvin tells him to text her, but Mackie realizes he left his phone at the office. So he returns to fetch it and finds CS alone and seemingly relaxing after a stressful day at work. Mackie takes this chance to tell her that he's apologetic for having not contacted her back at the resort. He hopes their experience won't make them awkward with each other at work. He also thanks her for the wonderful night. He notices that she's not reacting to anything he says. Perhaps she's not really okay with what happened. He stands up and looks for his phone, when suddenly she shrieks at him. It turns out CS is listening to some music via earphones, and hasn't heard anything he said. Ignoring his embarrassment, Mackie says he's looking for his phone. He finds it under a pile of her paperwork. They both acknowledge what happened back at the resort, and there's no awkwardness between them, especially on her part. When he asks her if she's not coming home yet, she says she's working on the article, based on the interview with the celebrity earlier. She shows it to him. Mackie looks at her instead of the article. He's looking at her just how women wish to be looked at by their men. CS notices this and looks back at him. Instantly, sparks fly around them. Mackie reaches for César's lips, which makes him look like he's diving on top of the table. She understands that look, so she grabs him and kisses him. Before things can get any hotter, the building's janitor comes in. He's oblivious to the fact that he just interrupted a supposedly sexy time. Mackie makes an excuse that a big cockroach just crawled by, and CS adds that the janitor shouldn't come closer. A few minutes later, they try to do it in Mackie's car. But their mood gets ruined when street children come and peek at the windows. It's like fate is saying, no hot stuff for them. Yet, CS comes home after a night lacking in action. She finds her good-for-nothing brother still playing video games at 3 in the morning. In the kitchen, her mother is drowning in tears after her latest boyfriend left her. One can see that her family is opposite to Mackie's. CS has always been an independent woman who has supported her family for a long time. This has greatly affected her disposition toward love. She thinks it's a waste of effort and time to be in a committed relationship. That's why casual relationships and one-night stands suit her best. The next day, Mackie offers her coffee. CS thinks he may be thinking differently about the two of them, so she clarifies the matter. They're friends with great benefits. There should be no hassle and no expectations between them. Mackie, who's just grateful and happy that he can be with her again, agrees. And thus, their casual relationship begins. It seems to be going well, as they keep their professional relationship as a mentor and mentee. One day, while on their way to a newly opened restaurant that Mackie is supposed to feature, he meets with his previous patients. That's when CS finds out he's a dentist. When she asks him why he chose to be a journalist, he says writing is his first love. So he wants to pursue it, but it doesn't mean he's stopped practicing his profession. His clinic is always open on weekends. When she sees him accepting a gift from an eyewear store, she reminds him to be careful, especially when it's done in exchange for exposure in a feature article. But Mackie says he got it for her, and he promises there are no other deals in it. Skeptical, CS accepts the glasses. She tells him to take care of the word promise. Never make them if you can't keep them, she adds. They go to the restaurant. CS is making sure Mackie is not overly enthusiastic and saying yes to all of the owner's demands. She's a good mentor for Mackie, willing to teach him everything she has learned from her own experience as a writer. Mackie's friends are aware of their setup, so there should be no problem with introducing him to other women. Mackie is okay with it, although he doesn't go for the home run unless he has protection. But when he does acquire a contraceptive, he makes the mistake of putting it inside his breast pocket, then proceeding to fetch CS from the office. To top it off, he says it's not for her when she asks about it. CS feels kind of annoyed and a little bit challenged. She grabs Mackie and decides to go with him to his condominium unit for a cup of coffee. There, she'll show him why the condom should be for her. Their cup of coffee is a bottle of tequila with lemon and salt. CS is going wild, and Mackie is too turned on to keep up with her. When his friends arrive at the unit, they are stunned at the careless and overly enthusiastic sexy time happening inside Mackie's room. Of course, it's none of their business, and they've had their own experiences. Still, it makes them speechless how hot a couple can be. Since then, Mackie has become obviously smitten with CS. He praises her whenever he can. He tells her he likes it more when she smiles, which makes her heart flutter, but she won't admit it. Whenever they're together, Mackie always finds an excuse to make her stay, but CS always finds a reason not to. Despite their romantic affair, they maintain their professionalism. When Mackie's first ever article doesn't make it to print, CS doesn't comfort him. Instead, she asks the EIC for reasons why the article isn't printed. The EIC says it's good, but not good enough for print. With this, CS instructs Mackie to rewrite the article. This time, he must involve all 5 senses. He must be able to convince his readers of the experience through his words. She also tasks him to write a leading paragraph derived from a very thick journal. This will help him develop a way of writing the gist of a story briefly and concisely. One morning, CS finally decides to stay at Mackie's unit for a longer time. Happy with the opportunity, he cooks her a hearty breakfast. When his friends wake up, they both feel awkward. But soon CS is vibing with all of them, and they share a peaceful meal. Kelvin is a bit concerned for his friend. During his dentist appointment with Mackie, he asks him how things are going. Mackie says he and CS are both enjoying their setup, and they have no problem with it. Kelvin reminds him that he's the type of man that easily falls in love, and when he does, he goes all out. There's no problem with that. However, is Mackie certain that CS will feel the same way, if it comes to that? This makes Mackie think about the situation. During lunchtime, when they're both alone in the office, he asks her if she's happy with the way things are between them. CS says yes, saying serious commitments are not her thing. They are romantically linked, they enjoy each other's company, and they have great sex. What can't they get from their setup that a serious relationship has? Mackie answers, love. CS scoffs at this. She says love is a waste of time and effort. It limits people and makes them cry. With the way she says it, Mackie can't help but feel empathy for her, who has hurt her, to make her say those things. She tells him to forget about it, but he carries on. He asks her several hypothetical questions, and to each one, she has an answer. But when he asks what happens if he falls in love with her, she becomes speechless. CS knows she's in danger of feeling the same way. Flustered by his straightforwardness, she jokingly threatens to kick him. In response, he smiles as he threatens to love her. Blushing furiously, she tells him to go back to work. But Mackie only looks lovingly at her, enjoying the fact that he has an effect on her. Slowly, in his own way, Mackie creeps into Cez's heart. He takes her on dates and spends quality time with her. They still sleep together, but this time Mackie is much sweeter, always opting to cuddle with her. One time, she wakes up to a soft melody. She sees Mackie singing a sweet song about seeing her in his dreams. CS feels her heart melt as he continues serenading her. She hasn't felt this way in a long while. It feels glorious to feel loved by someone as sincere as Mackie. With all that he's done for her, can she finally change her mind about love? The next week, Mackie finally sees his article being printed in the newspaper. Everyone in the lifestyle section is happy for him. But things get a bit uncomfortable when suddenly, CS jumps on him and hugs him, congratulating him on a job well done. Says's friends, Alex and Vivora, are suspicious of her behavior. They corner her inside the comfort room and demand to know what's going on. They know CS to be practical, and with her philosophy in love, seeing her jump like a tarsier doesn't match up with her personality. CS insists it's just a casual relationship, and nothing serious. But with her growing chemistry with Mackie, only a fool will believe her. Kelvin, Ipe, and Butch also confront Mackie about the real score between him and CES. They're only concerned for Mackie because they know he loves too much. They remind him how devastated he was when he broke up with Iya, his last ex. Mackie understands where they're coming from. He assures his friends that they both know and understand their situation. He doesn't need to explain his choices, and if he gets hurt, so be it. He also acknowledges that he loves her and is happy with what CES can give him. But he pushes for more when he decides to introduce her to his family. He manages to convince her to come with him and have lunch with them. At first, CS is not used to the affectionate and teasing way that Mackie's family shows. But she goes along with it, and soon feels comfortable in their presence. It would have been a good lunch date, if not for the unexpected arrival of Mackie's ex. Iya just happens to be there with her friends. She greets Mackie's family amiably, and she is also on good terms with her ex. CS begins to feel left out, but Mackie makes sure it doesn't happen. One could say that CS is indeed lucky to have met someone like him. That night, when he brings her to her home, Mackie can't help but notice her sulking. To his delight, he figures out she feels jealous of his ex. CS vehemently denies it and sends him home. She's starting to feel conflicted with her feelings for him. How can she keep pushing him away when she knows she's already fallen for him? And then there's the personal goal of hers that she's been working on for a long time. She doesn't know if it's smart to continue her relationship with him. For days, she's been thinking about her situation. That's why she's so surprised when, during her day off, Mackie visits her in her house, bringing flowers and chocolates. It's not part of her plans to introduce him to her family, so she hides him from them as much as possible. Mackie is oblivious to this since he's happy to have met her family. But one phone call will change everything between them. Marie, Says's friend in Singapore, calls to confirm her acceptance in a major newspaper publication there. It turns out CS has been sending applications to the publication numerous times through her friend, including writing sample articles for reviewing and consideration. It has been her major wish to be accepted there as a correspondent. But now, she doesn't know how to feel about it, especially with Mackie hearing the confirmation. She hasn't even thought about telling him about this. When she sees him become distant, she feels like everything is slowly falling apart. As for Mackie, understandably he feels betrayed. But he realizes one thing, that after all, he's not okay with their setup because he wants more. He wants CS, all of her. Things have started to become dull between them. It's like an invisible wall separates them and their feelings for each other. Mackie is hurt to realize that CS does not trust him enough to reveal things about herself. But deep inside, he's certain of his love for her, and that soon enough he'll forgive her. On the other hand, CS is fighting off the feelings she thought she'd buried before. Her issue is not about accepting the job offer in Singapore, but rather her growing feelings for Mackie. She never thought she would love again, but here she is. It's about time she faces this issue, and be firm with what she really wants. One night during overtime, Mackie is trying to show CS some aspects of living in Singapore. Since he's more honest with his feelings, it's easy for him to move on and focus on what matters, which is Says's future. He also reminds her to talk to HR so she can process her papers as soon as possible. But CS is not having any of it. Tired of his interference, she suddenly and angrily blurts out that she can do all those things on her own. Then she walks out of the office and proceeds to the rooftop. Mackie follows her there. She says he shouldn't act like he knows her, because there are a lot of things she's not telling him. Mackie begs her to tell him. He becomes upfront with his feelings, telling her that he loves her, that he's tired of pretending that he understands, and accepts their setup. He promises to love her and take care of her. Things would be far more simple if she admits her feelings for him. CS says it's never simple. The more she recognizes her love for him, the more her fear of getting hurt grows. Mackie says he's been hurt before, so he knows what she's talking about and promises to never do that. But it's not enough to change her mind. She eventually tells him about her painful experience in the love department. CS says she was in a relationship around 5 years ago. Her ex's name was Vince, an up-and-coming architect, and she loved him very much. She was about to go to Singapore then. But Vince convinced her to come and live with him in Cebu, a state far away from her family. He promised to love and take care of her. The very same words that Mackie uttered just now. Because she loved him so much, she followed him there, leaving her family and putting her dreams aside. Their life was okay for a while, until she met with an accident. CS became disabled afterwards. She wasn't able to walk and was in a serious condition. She was losing hope at the time, and Vince was the only one she could rely on. But he left her after getting a job opportunity in New York. CS was devastated. She had no money, she was far from home, and she was alone. She was completely broken and felt that even her self-respect had been taken away from her. But she chose to move forward with whatever she had left. She was determined to stand again, live again, and build whatever shattered inside her. Since then, she promised herself to never fall in love, to never allow herself to experience the same hurt she felt before. But here she is again, in front of a man who tells her he loves her, and asks her to love him back. She wants to, so badly, but she finds it hard to overcome the fear that's been ingrained in her heart. If only she met him before, when her heart was still willing to take the risk, maybe things would be different between them. After this poignant conversation, things look bland and depressing between them. They both feel the same emotion, but they view it in very different ways. One is willing to give all his love to protect and keep her safe. However, the other is afraid to take the leap, thinking that if she does, she'll lose everything again. Days pass. Mackie is given the assignment to interview architect Vincent Villegas, an eligible bachelor who's come home after a successful career overseas. Mackie is doing good with the interview, and Vincent is comfortable answering questions until they touch on the more personal aspects. Mackie asks him, after designing all those beautiful family homes, hasn't he thought of settling down and building one himself? Vincent says he's not inclined at the moment, but there was one point in his life before when he really considered it. He calls it an almost event, where he and his ex lived together in Cebu. But the relationship turned sour soon, which made him confused about his career and life. Then an accident happened, around the same time he received an offer from New York. Vince took this as a sign to go after what he wanted, which made it easy for him to leave his ex. He hasn't regretted his choices since. Mackie is increasingly becoming agitated as the architect tells his story. So this is the despicable man who left CS crawling and alone all those years ago. He can't help but attack Vince physically. Unfortunately, Mackie gets suspended because of this altercation. CS hears about this and confronts him. Mackie wants to hit him, to avenge her, to pay him back all the hurt he caused her. He's still fuming about the lack of remorse on Vincent's part. CS tells him it doesn't matter if he proceeds to bash her ex's face. Things have happened. She's been hurt. Nothing they do now can change what happened in the past. Mackie looks at her in a resigned way. She's right. Even if he punches the living daylights out of Vince, nothing can remove the fear inside her, unless she makes the first move to take that step towards love again. All he can do is love her and wait for her, because he understands, despite the heavy feelings it causes him. CS thinks about what he said. She feels pathetic for not knowing what to do. She can't force herself to remove her fears about loving again. But what can she do when she's fallen head over heels for him? Her mother joins her and comforts her. The latter apologizes for not showing a good example of love and relationships. The mother has always been a hopeless romantic, so CS is familiar with her always jumping from one boyfriend to another. She blooms when in love and becomes depressed after a heartache. Yet she does this all over again, seemingly not getting tired from this cycle. CS asks her how she does it. The mother says she can always take a break after a relationship. She can't give in to the pain, because if she does, then she'll never find the man that's meant for her. She believes there's one person who's meant to love her truly and deeply. When that happens, she'll realize why she went through a lot of exes. She'll realize that all that hurt is worth it in the end. CS considers this insight as she takes comfort in her mother's arms. A couple of days pass. Mackie has decided to shut his clinic permanently and pursue his writing career completely. As always, his family supports his decision as well. At the office, all the writers greet CS on her upcoming journey to Singapore. Her friends Alex and Vivor are elated to see their friend fly again. But CS wonders how everyone knew about this fortuitous event in her career, when she never mentioned anything about it. It turns out Mackie has written a feature article about her. The article is titled, "For What It's Worth," and the first line is her philosophy. In every choice that's made, a million other things are rejected. The article elaborates on how she's a great mentor, and how passionate she is with her work. It ends with him saying, if he ever has the chance to teach her anything, it's that she's always worth more than a million things rejected. CS is overwhelmed with love. Finally, she makes that choice to overcome her fears, because Mackie is the person that's worth all her heartaches. She goes to his unit. With the help of Ipe and others, she serenades him. She sings the lyrics, "You're the only one I love, your love is all I need. A love everlasting is what I truly feel." Mackie smiles at her and sings with her. He hugs her, thinking that yes, all the pain is worth it in the end.